Okay, I know I'm supposed to be live, but just give me a minute. I'm watching my other window to see what happens. There we go. Make sure that is off. Okay. Okay. So we're on. I'm trying something a little bit different here. And I'm trying to have a second window open with my live show playing with the sound off. Gosh, you can't now I know why it takes people so long. There we go. So, okay, I wanted to be able to see how that works and kind of a little bit how it looks from your end, which I haven't really done. And I do realize there's a lag partially because of the commercials that you got to skip through and just the wait time for it to, link up and all that. So it's kind of weird because it does look like it kind of catches up. Okay. Okay. So we're live. We're live and excuse me. I was fine until I got started. Yeah, so for those who are new to my channel or new to my lives on this channel, I'm only doing right now on this channel because I have two, right? So my second channel is linked in the description box. And I decided to do these shorter lives earlier in the day on Sunday, an hour and a half or so before I do my longer live on my other channel. There's a few reasons for that. And one is so that I can break it up, help give my vocal cords a bit of a break and my eyes a bit of a break because it's hard on both for me to do these. But also for those who still haven't figured out that I have a second channel that's mostly for my full length live shows. I like to do this because it does seem to help get people over there. So what I've done is I linked to that live that will be happening in about 2 hours or so, 2 hours and 15 minutes from right now in the description box. But also know you'll see another link to the reboot to this in case I get cut off. That was the other reason I want to have this other window open so I can go over there and see how it looks from your end if it shows me another one of those weird warnings. But yeah, lately my vocal cords have been just really they everything's been very harsh on them lately. They've been a little more delicate than usual. So I am going to try to approach a couple of questions that might come into the chat. I see one has come in, and so that's going to be part of the purpose of these early the early lives that I do on Sunday, or the pre-show as I'm currently calling it. I'll probably rename it, is to cover a couple of questions, give the announcements, just show a couple of things going on around here. And then that way I can shorten up the topic for later when I'm covering a main topic on the other channel. So first, let's go to the book that I'm going to show today. And that is called America's Garden Book. Again, anymore, I don't remember where I get most of these books because it's been a collection over the years. I've had some great followers that have sent me some wonderful books. Some of them I've collected at garage sales, estate sales, and so on, or even on auctions, local auctions. Now, this one, it's a big, thick book. This one, the original copyright was 1939, but then it's got a more current one of 1952, which looks about right for this. This looks like something that was printed in the 50s to me. So, anyway, very, very thick book. It has photos as well as drawings. Well, those photos actually go this way, not that you'll be able to tell very well. Of course, they're all in black and white. Color is always nice, but this is 1952 here. Not that they didn't have color then. It just wasn't as common. So yeah, another great book to add to my repertoire, to my collection. What do we got here? This one is Vines Suitable for the House. So a lot of great books that I have on hand. I just love collecting vintage and antique books anyway, but specifically when I'm looking for certain books, I'm looking for good children's books. I'm looking for very usable books, like old cookbooks. I don't like modern cookbooks. Um, I don't use cookbooks hardly at all, but if I'm going to use one, I'm going to go back to an old one, 1950s and back. And garden, excuse me, garden books, anything like that. Anything that's going to be more educational. I do have some that are just fiction books. I have a few of those, but mostly, see, is there an author to the garden book? Let's see here. What does it say? It says, oh, Bush Brown is the name. So, yeah, and I just, so if you like to shop secondhand, hit estate sales and whatnot, look in their book collection. You may be able to find some pretty decent gems of books for kids and adults alike looking through their section, especially if you're looking for those older books. Estate sales are typically the best when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, anyway, so somebody's from Eastern Washington just planting tomatoes and peppers and petunias in the greenhouse. Um, so yeah, Eastern Washington is definitely much warmer and drier than we are here. But so I haven't started my tomatoes yet. I'm going to wait about another week. I have though started my Chinese 5 color peppers, my favorite hot peppers, favorite ones to grow and use. And this isn't one of them. This one's empty. Currently has no seeds in it. But this year, what I'm doing for the first time is I bought myself, I got 3 more coming. So it will totally fill up our big south facing window where I always start my seeds inside because it's too cold even in the greenhouse to start seeds out there this time of year. So I got these, they're more for your little succulents, for decorative purposes. But I thought there were several reasons why I went with these. They do come with a tray, which is already full of dirt because I just recently filled this up. And I got these specifically because they'll fit on the windowsill perfectly all the way across. I can have 3 per um, pane because it's divided up into a total of 9 panes. So we've got 3 across and 3 down. Is that right? Yeah, 9. So anyway, it's a pretty big window and it faces the south. And it's always been a great place for me to start seeds without having to use added electricity, added heat, because that's where our wood stove is. And it's um, added light. I don't need to add that because of the light coming in from the window. So I did start my peppers, 2 little pots like this of peppers. I'm going to start 4 of tomatoes, but I'm going to wait 1 more week because the peppers are always at least 2 weeks behind when I plant them at the same time. It takes at least another 2 weeks. We start seeing tomatoes popping up. Takes at least another 2 weeks before you start seeing the peppers. So I thought I'll start those first. I don't want to start my tomatoes too soon because I've made that mistake before and then they were getting too big for where I was growing them in the house and needed to move them to the greenhouse. Everything was fine, but one year we had a late freeze and even in the greenhouse it killed a bunch of my tomato plants. So next week about this time, probably next Sunday, I'll be starting my tomatoes in 4 different varieties this year. So 4 different pots, and I just sprinkle them in there and then let them grow all together. One thing I love about tomatoes is you can separate them. The roots get all bound, wrapped around each other. You can separate them. It doesn't hurt them as long as you don't break off the whole root, the whole section. It actually helps to stimulate the growth. So I don't grow in all these teeny tiny little separate pots. I just do them all in one. So, yeah, I'm really excited. Especially since last year I gave my garden a sabbatical rest. I'm so excited about getting my garden going this year. So I have been doing some work out there. We actually had our first real nice day and it was warm. In fact, it was warm enough that working out in the sun for just a couple of minutes, you were sweating. And it's like, wow, it's hard to believe we were just freezing cold not that long ago. So my first thing I really got out there and started doing was in the front yard garden. And since again, last year I gave my garden a sabbatical, didn't do anything, didn't weed, nothing. My every year in the spring before I get ready to start planting my potatoes out there, I have to thin back my nettle back closer to the house because I grow my nettle right up next to the house under one of the bedroom windows. It's kind of a dual purpose sort of thing. It's a place that's sort of safe and out of the way where I can grow my nettle, but also provides a little bit, a small layer of protection of anyone wanting to climb through that window because of the nettle. Not that it would stop them entirely if they were determined, but of course they'd have to break the window to get through it. But any rate, um, but it does kind of start creeping out into the main garden area where I grow my potatoes and my rhubarb. So since last year I didn't get back out there and thin it back, I was like, "Oh, it should be easy." I think I was just saying this the other day. Yeah, it's just a matter of loosening it up. Well, the problem is because it did come out so far and because it had that much more time to grow, there it just made a thick mat of root and everything in there that I had to break through. I'm realizing this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. I can pull up this mat of nettle easily enough, but to disconnect it from, where I want it to stop was a lot harder than I thought it would. I couldn't just yank it out. I had to actually take the spade and just start breaking through that mat. And even with my gloves on, and I didn't have long sleeves on, it was too warm. And I got stung all over my arms and even through the gloves into my hands and whatever, it is what it is. It doesn't bother me that much. I always look at it, well, it stings. It's mostly a kind of weird tingly, burny type feeling. It's not super comfortable, but I don't absolutely hate it. It's not excruciating. I always think, well, that sting that you get from nettle actually has beneficial properties to it too. So I just like, well, it's good for me. There's a reason why I grow nettle in the first place. In fact, I was just telling somebody on a Facebook group, the Azure Standard group that I'm in for our local area. So excited. I know I keep saying that. But the lady that is setting up the whole thing, she did a post about thyroid health and linked to a bunch of things within Azure Standard. You can get, foods and stuff like that that are just good for your thyroid health. So I put in there about how it's been 13 years ago, just about, I think it was April and May, because I went off the thyroid medicine first, and then the month after that, I took Patrick off. So I think it was April for me and May for him, and it will have been 13 years ago that we stopped taking the thyroid medication. Though we did wean ourselves off. It took several weeks to wean off slowly rather than just stopping cold turkey, because I just always recommend going that route no matter what it is. And I was sharing about how one of the main things, that I wanted to grow, I wanted to make sure I had always on hand was nettle because it's very, very nourishing to the thyroid. So that's the number one reason why I grow stinging nettle is for that. And so I'll be talking more about that in the show on my second channel. Again, that show is linked in the description box down below if you want to make sure that you're not only subscribed to my second channel, but you're ready for that show when it happens at 11:45 my time, Pacific Standard Time. So right about 2 hours from now. And so I'll be talking more about the nettle and a few other good things. And then what else? There was one more thing. I talked about the book, the planting. Maybe that was it. Just the other thing I like to do on these pre-shows is to just kind of let you know some of the videos coming out this week. So other than the this and that, which is every Monday, but I have a video coming out about vinegar. What a surprise! It's actually called the most unusual vinegars I've made, something like that. And then one of Patrick's videos on some more work that he was doing on our off-grid piece of property, mountain property, because we have two other pieces of property. We actually have a fourth piece of property down in Oregon that we kind of inherited that we're just letting sit for now. We haven't decided if we want to keep it or sell it eventually, but right now it's just sitting. So no big plans for that, but we have it, we own it. Uh, but then the other one is about my updated video on the cloth toilet paper replacement for those who are interested and for those who think they could handle it, which it's a lot easier than you think, people. It's a lot. I know it just people get real squeamish and it grosses them out when they first think about it, but people have been doing cloth diapers for years. I did cloth diapers with my babies. And trust me, this is much easier than the cloth diapers, which I didn't think were hard either. Okay, so let me go scroll back up. I know I've got a couple questions. I'm going to try to cover a couple before I have to go and give my vocal cords a rest for my second show. Um, how long does it should last? I'm not going to really read that out loud, but for those who um, are seeing the chat, should last forever. It doesn't spoil. It might turn darker over time, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. Mine, even in stored in a dark bottle in a dark cabinet, does tend to still get dark over time, but I still use it. I've had no issues with it. Been making and using it for, I don't know, at least 10 years, at least that long. I'm not sure. I hadn't. So let me scroll back up. There was another question. Okay, I answered the author one. Heidi, what do you know about increasing oxygen saturation and antispasmodic herbals or supplement? That's kind of a new one to me. Antispasmodic, um, I guess I would need to understand exactly what you're referring to. Now, I do have a video out on this channel within, so I have, for those who are new, I have lots of playlists, lots and lots of them. But I have one playlist that's just about a list of herbs and foods and more. It's called Herbs and More. What no, what's it called? I forget what it's called. It's Natural Remedies List. So what they are, there's quite a few in there. I have one that's for stress and anxiety, and that I don't know if that has anything to do with what you're asking, but that might be helpful. All of the videos within that, though, address a certain either health ailment or just something that you're looking at having better health with, like brain health, liver health, hair health, skin health. And I just provide a list of herbs, foods, and more that can be helpful at dealing with either the health issue or just having healthier skin, hair, and whatnot. And so some of you might find that very interesting. I think my thyroid related videos might be in there because that was one of the big things that the first video, well, the first real thorough video I did about thyroid health was mostly a testimony, and it was both Patrick and me sharing our testimony and what we did and the changes it made going off the thyroid medication. And we did it without medical advice, help, because we just didn't have that kind of support here. And it was all about me doing a lot of deep research and yeah, trying to find everything I could at what we could do to be able to go off the medication and be able to um, be healthy, and not have to worry about it. And so we've been 13 years almost off the medication and still doing great as far as that goes. It's just, see, Trina said, I have had some in a dark jar for a couple of years when I made a large amount. Yeah, I've had longer than that, some of it. Sometimes I make a lot because I'll go through spurts where there's people that will buy it from me, but then also go through spurts where I'm using it more than others. Lately, I've been using it quite a bit, but mostly 99% of the time it's topical uses, for cleaning, um, whatever. It's just, yeah. So, and were there any other questions anything I missed yet? I'm scrolling back up. Seemed like there was something else I was going to say, talking about those lists. Was there something else? Oh, something else I was going to address. But anyway, if you go to that list, I sadly don't have it linked because, I wasn't ready for that question. But if you go find that list, natural remedies lists, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. You can go to the playlist section tab and then scroll through there and find it. And I think the thumbnail picture that shows is like got a purple background on the one side, and on the other side is a picture of cat mint with the purple flowers. Because that is actually the video where I'm talking about um, herbs and more to help with stress and anxiety. And a lot of it's what works for me, but I also list off a bunch of other things that I looked into. Doesn't necessarily mean I use those, but the whole idea is to provide a list of all kinds of different things so people can. This was what I was going to say. A lot of times when I provide a list of any kind, people are like, "Oh, I can't grow all that," or "I can't afford all that," or "I can't." That's not the purpose of the list. It's not for you to go buy or do everything that's in the list. It's to provide you a list of some place to start, because obviously not everything in those lists are going to be good for every person. Me, I find catmint is a great herb for me to use to relax, and valerian leaf. Not the root so much unless I really need sleep, but I like the leaf because it's a lot more mild, or the flowers, and it's mild in flavor and scent as well, but it's a lot more mild in how it works if you don't want something that, is as powerful as the root. And sometimes I'll take them together. And when they're growing fresh, if I just need to de-stress, go out and eat a leaf of valerian, a leaf of catmint together. And if I'm using it for pain, then I'll add my feverfew to that. And I'll eat herbs fresh rather than using an extract. The extracts are to get me through the time of the year where they're not coming in fresh. So Tammy Hill says Zach at American Homestead is offering for $1 the ability to download. Yep, those books, those herbal books. Somebody sent me the link to one. I haven't really looked at it. And I'm not going to say I don't recommend it. I'm sure it's great stuff. So how Zach's thing works is if you donate $1 to his Patreon, just $1 is all, then he'll send you those books in a digital format for free. Well, for $1. And I recommend doing it. I mean, what's it going to hurt? $1. Now, I haven't looked through the one that somebody sent me, and it was also a digital format, but it was just one of the two. But I'm glad I have it. But I have a lot of other herbal books on hand, including that old one I was showing you that was probably older than this, I think. I think it was 1920s, if I remember correctly, that I showed last Sunday, where was it called, a formulary? And it had tons and tons of tincture and extract recipes in there, including ones that somebody had handwritten in there. Now, chances are I may never use any of those because I'm all about creating my own recipes, and have been since I started growing my own herbs based on what I know works best for me. And sometimes it's a matter of trial and error, because different recipes are going to work different, just like different herbs work differently for different people. Different combinations of herbs are going to work differently for different people. A listing of opportunities isn't a checklist of you got to do this. Exactly, Tyler. That's, and like I had somebody come in recently to to that old video from 2018 that Patrick and I did about some of the different changes you can make to your diet, to herbs, supplements, whatever. I'm not all about supplements, but sometimes they can have their place. And especially when you're trying to heal your body from something, if you're getting a good quality supplement. So I did recommend a few. And somebody came in there and was like, "I can't afford all this." And it's like, well, nobody said that you had to go buy all that. That was not the point of the list. I was sharing not only the what we had done, but some of the things that you can do. And then she's going on, well, and on top of that, it makes it even harder because I'm a vegetarian. And it's like, because healthy meats, there's healthy meats are good for your thyroid. So that would probably explain yet another reason why being I tried doing a vegan diet twice. I've been a vegetarian. That was the first thing I did in my 20s. I was a I went vegetarian mostly to try it out. I wanted to see if I felt better. I mean, not that I felt bad. I was very healthy, but I just wanted to see I wanted to see how it made me feel. You know, I didn't eat a ton of meat anyway. And for a while I was fine till I started having fainting spells completely out of the blue. And once I went back to having animal products, all that went away. And yes, I was very good. I ate very healthy. Then in my 40s, early 40s, I tried going completely vegan with the idea that I'm going to do it I'm going to make sure I really do it right and get all of my cover everything. Again, it was about me wanting to try something to see how it made me feel. Started out the same way as being vegetarian. Felt pretty good for a little while until I didn't. And the time frame was about the same amount of time. And then in my early 50s, I did it again, the vegan thing, but I went vegan and grain free, but not for the intention of having it be a long-term diet change. I was only going to do it for a week. And I thought, okay, I'm going to extend it out another week. I'm feeling pretty good. But in that case, it took a lot less time for me to start feeling the effects of not having the animal products that my body needed and the grains. So, but again, it was just for me, it was trying, it was doing something that last time was only supposed to be for a brief period of time to just kind of do a basically a type of fast like I do now, except for now I fast from all foods at least 40 out. Well, 40 hours is I'd say at least 42 hours at the minimum twice a week. 42 hours straight, no food. Just coffee and water is all, or tea and tea. Herbal tea. And then on the days that I am eating, just doing the intermittent fasting where I'm only eating in a somewhat short window of time, 4 to 5 hours in there. So that's what works best for me. That's what I feel best on. But when I'm eating, I eat from all the food groups because I found that I need them all. So here's the thing. If being a vegetarian or a vegan is not helping you out and it's not helping your thyroid to get better, or it's making you dizzy, or it's making your teeth get loose and your hair fall out, it's probably time you rethought your diet. I'm not saying it's wrong to be a vegan or to be a vegetarian. What I'm saying is that it might be wrong for you. And this is one of the things that is super important that people need to understand. You get people from every diet fad there is out there that they've done this. They've done the carnivore, they've done the grain free, they've done the paleo, they've done the this, they've done the that, and it's worked really good for them for at least a time. And so they start pushing that and promoting that and making everybody feel that that's what they have to do, and everything else is poison. So you should only eat meat, eggs, and cheese. Everything else is poison. Wrong. You should only eat uh, grains and plants, plant-based diet, because everything else is poison. Wrong. You should never eat any kind of sugar, no fruit, whatever. It's poison because it has sugar in it. Wrong. You can actually eat from all food groups and have a very healthy diet. It's about where you're getting your food from. Are you eating a bunch of processed meats, a bunch of processed grains, a bunch of highly processed sugars? Well, that's wrong too. Don't do that. It's about finding the healthy options of all these. Food closest to the way it's found in creation. Okay. But that doesn't mean you can't cook your food though either. So I've talked about this as well. I mean, cooking food, while you may destroy some of your nutrients, not all, you can also be bringing out more nutrients in the cooking process. But the fresher the food is, the better. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to eat it raw. It just means the fresher it is, the better. The closest to the source it is, the better. So here's Tyler. Shame on you. See, do you take any electrolytes or anything else while fasting? No. No. The closest thing I do is I take my eggshells, and sometimes I'll take a B complex, but that's not just because 'cause I'm fasting, that's just because sometimes I think I might need a little bit more B vitamins, but I don't do that every day. I don't even take the eggshells every day, I just try to because sometimes I just forget, but, um, I'm getting all those minerals, and, I know those minerals are really important. They're important for my bones, and especially being a woman of my age, getting those minerals and is well, any age really, man or woman, but us, us women that when we once you go into menopause and you know, you start having more mineral loss, and so it's important to replace that as much as possible. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and I know exactly what's in it for me to take the eggshells, rinse them out, let them dry, powder them up from my own chickens that I've been fed nothing but organic food, and, um, take that as a supplement. It's cheap. I'm making the most of my chickens that way too. Aren't we glad we're not all alike? I do really well fasting from 9 to 12. 9 PM to 12 AM. Oh, to 12 AM or 9 PM to 12 PM the next day? Is that what you meant? Then a lot of protein and veggies with hardly any carbs. So then speaking of carbs, that's another thing too. Um, I realize that going low carb for most people, especially now, is a good idea. And I'm not going to bash that at all because the thing is that we get it just in a lot of our regular diets. I mean, even a lot of the fruit that you get now or even grow has a higher sugar content than it once used to. So we can get plenty of carbs without having to try. However, we have to also remember before we completely demonize carbs that in a really tough situation, you're going to want those carbs. Let me tell you, you're going to need those carbs in the healthiest form you can get them. So remember, they are an energy source. What makes people fat is they eat too many carbs. And we all know this. Now, remember when was it the 90s or was it before that? It was the 90s. I'm pretty dang sure the whole sugar-free diet thing. So everybody was cutting all the sugar. No, no, it was fat-free, excuse me. It was the fat-free diet thing. Okay, so everybody was cutting all the fats, including all the healthy fats like butter and beef tallow. And what happened? People started getting fatter and fatter. Why? Because they were eating more carbs. They were eating more sugar. I don't know if any of you ever watched the Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, which is kind of funny because it came out the same year as my 10-year high school reunion. And she's all talking about being on this fat-free diet, and all she was eating was jelly beans and gummy bears or something like that. And it's like, yeah, yeah. And then the same thing the other way around with the sugar-free. Everything's sugar-free. Well, what happened? People started eating a lot of um, what you call non-nutritive sweeteners that are usually made with chemicals and are actually quite toxic to the body. And that had its own. It actually, in a lot of cases, made a lot of people fatter because it made them crave. Okay, what happens when you start taking non-nutritive sweeteners? Your sense of taste tastes the sweetness, but your body doesn't recognize what that is. There's no nutrients in it. Where's the energy in that? There's no energy in that. So then what happens is you naturally start eating, craving more sugar or high carb foods, be it pastas, potatoes, or whatever. So that's why the sugar-free thing doesn't work in trying to lose weight unless you don't eat anything at all. So why is it was so common? You'd see somebody with a diet soda in one hand, and a candy bar in the other. They're thinking that the diet soda is gonna cancel out the candy bar. That's not how it works. So, you just gotta with every fad diet, you gotta make sure you're looking at everything. And just because it works really good for somebody else doesn't mean it's gonna work good for you. And just because it's working good for you initially doesn't mean it's going to be good for you long term. And I didn't mean to get all onto this, and it's already been 35 minutes, so I should go so my vocal cords have time to rest for my next topic on the other channel. Remember that link to that is in the description box down below to that live show. So let me look real quick and see if I had anything else I wanted to address before I got. See, I just had this conversation with a carnivore convert, like a multi-level marketing scams or pyramid scheme. The food pyramid was a scam too. Yep. Artificial sweeteners taste terrible too. Agreed. Yeah. My mom was diabetic, but she would drink a lot of like Crystal Light was her thing. And I kept trying to tell her, Mom, that stuff is so bad for you. And I really think it was one of the contributors to her death. She was in her first half of her 70s. Why is it I can't even was she 75, 74, 75? Um, Sometimes I'm surprised she made it as long as she did with all of the stuff she was buying into and consuming from doctors and the health experts and all that. So, um, I know I shouldn't, but in a lot of I believe I'm justified in blaming the medical community for a lot of my mom's health problems, but she was also to blame. She bought into a lot of stuff and she wouldn't always listen to reason until about the time it got too late. She finally started to listen to me. And that was when said she asked the doctors because she had all the signs of dementia for a short period of time there. And I asked her, I said, she was telling me how she was on all of these antidepressants. She wasn't depressed. That's not why she was on antidepressants. They were putting her on all these antidepressants just to dealing with the pain from a botched surgery that they caused twice. They botched it up. It was a knee surgery. Botched it up the first time, went to fix it the second time, and it was still botched. So she spent the rest of her remaining years not being able to walk well because of the damage they caused to her knee. And so what do they do to fix it? Oh, let's put you on 4 different antidepressants all at once. That way, you know, we can just keep making you more sick. Well, when she finally listened to me and started talking to her doctors about why am I on all of these medications? I'm not kidding you. This is absolute 100% fact. She had a fishing tackle box full of drugs. Now, I will say some of those were supplements, but a lot of them were the drugs that they had her on. I'm not lying to you. I'm not exaggerating. It was a fishing tackle box full of drugs. And half the time she couldn't remember which one she was supposed to be taking when because they messed her brain up so bad. Well, when she finally approached the doctors and said, "Will you look over my medications? Why am I on all this?" And they realized she was on all those antidepressants. They took her off of them. She she never went. I mean, she was pretty old by that time as far as how old she was when she died. She was already at the end of her life, but at least she got most of her mind back. And I was actually able to talk to her on the phone like I used to be able to talk to her years prior before they did that to her. And it was nice that in the whole last year of her life, I was able to talk to her nearly every day on the phone, and we could have a coherent conversation. And it's like, just imagine how much better she would have been had she either A, never gone on all that stuff, or that stuff was taken care of long before that. Because here's a lot of times what happens. They might even be good doctors, but they're not paying attention half the time to what all the many things are. If they look at it, oh, okay, well, let's put you on this drug. Let's put you on that drug. No tests being done on the interactions of having somebody on 4 antidepressants at once, on top of the many other drugs they're on for whatever else they claim that that person needs to be on. So I'm not saying there aren't some that she, being a diabetic, I'm sure there's some that she kind of needed to function, but I could be guaranteed there was probably a lot more they could have taken her off of. So, yeah, I do have a lot of animosity towards the way some things are handled. This does not, let me clarify, mean that all doctors are bad. It doesn't mean that all doctors are out just to get your money. There are good doctors out there. There are that actually care about you. You just need to find them. And I think in this day and age, it's kind of getting harder and harder because when money starts becoming a major motivator rather than actually helping people, then and that line gets crossed. Yeah, I mean, any of us can be susceptible to it, but we just remember you can fire your doctor. You can do that. You're paying them, right? You can fire them. If they won't listen to you, they won't listen to your concerns and they won't listen to what you believe you really need. They need to at least listen to you. And if they won't do that, you fire them and you find somebody better, somebody who's willing to listen and actually care and not just try to find a way to do more and more tests on you to get more and more money from you or put you on more and more medications to get more money from you. So I got to follow that up with that because some people just think I'm totally anti medical doctor. No, I'm not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need them. We just need good ones that actually care about people and not about their bottom line. Anyway, so that's my rant for today. I've already been on here longer than I meant to. So, again, don't forget, go to the link down below, not the reboot link because it doesn't look like I'll need that today, but to my other live show that I'll be having here in about an hour and a half ish. So, I don't know. I'm not really looking at the time, but I see I've been on for far too long. So, love you all and hope you can make it if you can't. I totally understand. We all have lives. We all have church to go to or farms to take care of and goats and whatever else. I get it. I get it. But if you can be there, I'd love to see you there. It should be a good, fun chat. So take care, all, and God bless.